All right, so welcome to the I won't say the first episode because this is not the first episode. This is kind of a precursor, prequel, whatever you want to call it to we can call it a pilot, for what could potentially be, a TBFD gang podcast. We don't even really know what the name of this is supposed to be. So it's not something that we kind of have any expectations around, kind of where this goes. It's just something that, we've had this idea in our mind for a really long time of something that we wanted to put together in this space as far as talking about our experiences out here on the water and, going from, the content that we already create through photo and video and, potentially turning it into something that people can listen to as well. So that's kind of where this whole entire piece comes from. Um, you know, I fish with you guys a lot. We've been on the water. For me and Charlie have been on the water together for going on 3 years now. Jacob. Me and you have been fishing for a good amount of time together. Been good friends. Rob. You're new to the fold, but you fit right in with the group and things like that. And we kind of just want to sit down and have some conversations and talk about kind of our perspective on things that are happening in the fishing industry, where we think this space is going, and kind of where we feel. What these things in the what type of impact these things in the industry make on the future of the sport. So Charlie, I know you had some things that you wanted to kind of kick this off to start up talking about. We're down here in Florida, the third mecca of bass
Third
fishing.
mecca.
And there's a lot of conversations and talk about what Florida fishing is like, and it's like, everybody has this idea and this mindset that Florida is just, oh my God, the mecca of big bass, which in most cases it is, like Texas, and California, there are a lot of big fish that are here. There are a lot of big fish that are caught here on a regular basis, but, we've been here for going on 6 days now, and, our experience has really been kind of null to all of that. So, kind of what do you think about that? What was your expectation coming down here? We drove 17 hours from Texas to Florida. What was your expectation of coming down here for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. When you think about expectation, man, we had it set high, right? And that happens in fishing. You set your expectations really high. And when you do that, if you've been angling long enough, probably shouldn't go that far. We're going to get out here and smash them. When we're saying stuff like that on the road trip out here, that shows where we've set our expectation. Fish catching, going to be happening, right? And so, my expectations were high. And I think all of our expectations were high in some sense. I mean, we're coming out here to catch Florida bass. I mean, in Texas, we get Florida strain bass. But I wanted the Florida strain bass in Florida.
Absolutely.
and so we set it high, right? And again, that idea, that perception that Florida is whatever we may say after that, right? When it comes to bass fishing, comes from what's going on online, what's coming out of videos, what's coming out of influencers' mouth, whatever it might be, right? But the reality is the same as anywhere else. You got to get out there and fish. You got to get out there and find them. You got to get out there and do what you got to do to find those fish, get on that pattern, and keep catching them. And we have not found that yet.
Not at all, man. It's been an interesting, take to this whole entire thing, because it's like you say, to make a drive like that, not only we're here just to fish, but we're here for a specific reason. But it's like, how many opportunities do we get to come to a Florida, in the year and actually come out here and put in work like this to put fish in the boat? Rob, you used to live here in Florida. You're actually from, kind of this area of Central Florida as a whole. So, you coming into this is like, your expectation is kind of the same as ours. It's like, what were you thinking when we pull into Florida? And it's like you get out on the water and like, here we are. What is that? What's going through your mind?
I mean, we were talking about it on the way up here. Like, our expectations were so high that we were talking about the actual video that we were going to get. Like, we're going to get blow-ups out of, like, these blow-ups that are going to be amazing, cinematic type shots. And, like, coming out here, that's our expectation. And I'm on the camera like, okay, here it comes. Here it comes. And cast after cast after cast after cast. And nothing happens. I mean, it's kind of disappointing. I mean, to be honest, but I mean, it's not stopping us from doing what we want to do.
1,000%.
But like, yeah, I lived here. I've never fished here.
Yeah.
And me fishing here and capturing like video of this for the first time here. I mean, yeah, I caught that one bass on what was it, Saturday?
Yep.
First day.
First
day,
day,
basically.
first Florida bass. I mean, that took me onto a whole nother level, and I'm like, yo, this whole week is gonna be amazing. This is what it's gonna be about. And I mean, our expectation was here. Reality is like down here.
Yeah, man.
So I mean, it's different. It's really
Absolutely. And Jacob, you were just down here fishing. You know, you were just here like what, 2 months ago, a month ago, fishing for the KFL. You know,
Bassmaster.
Yeah, Bassmaster. So coming back here, you know, now, you know, having something kind of dialed in and figured out when you were here before, and then, you know, getting here and trying that all over again, and it's just not working. Like, what are you thinking in this process?
So I thought it was going to be the same thing, you know, submerged grass beds, working a jerkbait over the grass beds, and, you know, following that same pattern. And these fish they're selfish here. They're not team players. I mean, I need one of them to take a bite for the team and get in the boat.
I'm telling you, man.
But I found one dummy next to the dock and saw that sink. I was like, ooh, look at that. But I took a bite out of it. But no, my expectations coming back to Florida from the stellar time we had on the Harris Chain of Lakes. I mean, when me and Levis fished the Harris Chain or the Bassmaster event on Beauclair, we probably each caught 15, 20 fish on tournament day.
Yeah.
And, you know, during pre-fish, we had a really successful pre-fish too. And then coming here to see this is just like, what on God's green earth is going on?
Yeah, man, it's definitely a kick in the teeth for sure. Yeah. And, you know, it's like, you know, the quintessential piece of all of this is like the idea that we come to Florida and there's one specific fish that you can come and catch here in this state that, you know, you can only catch here in the Amazon, you know, South America. You can't catch it anywhere else. And that's a peacock bass. It's like, you know, that's a fish that's been on my bucket list since I can't even remember. You know, I know that's a fish that's been on all of our bucket lists. And it's like we get, you know, all of these ideas and this mindset mentality. And again, like you said, the words that come from people's mouths, the videos that we've watched and things like that. Oh, it's so easy to catch a peacock bass because they literally will eat anything. You know, you watch these videos, you see these guys out here on the water, you know, and it's like, man, we can go out there and we can do that. This is our opportunity to come to Florida and we can finally check this species off of our bucket list. So it's like we travel 3.5 hours, man, 3.5 hours to South Florida, you know, 7-hour round trip. You know, we get up early, get all the boats and all the gear loaded up. We've got this idea in our mind that we're going to go down here to South Florida. You know, we're going to run down here south of Naples. There's canals everywhere. I've been talking to everybody out here. Man, I need some intel on South Florida. What's the deets? Mm-hmm. Hook me up with the juice. Where are the peacock bass? You know, it's not about anything else. It's not about snook. It's not about tarpon. It's about this one Amazonian fish, the peacock bass that I want to catch. I want to hold this fish in my hands. Everybody's like, you need to go here, here, and here. We hit it. Make this rip. Get down there. Absolutely phenomenal looking place. I mean, just it's absolutely everything that you would think that what it would look like. You know, these big sprawling canals, trees all around, and it's like, boom, here it is. We're here. Let's go out here and see if we can find this fish. And it's like, we get on the water, we start moving around, and the fish is non-existent. And then it's like we make the cast, we find a couple, we see the fish.
We see fish.
We see fish.
We're seeing them.
And that's what makes it so much worse, is just the fact that we see this fish. We're right here. We're this close to sealing the deal on this fish, and we can't get this thing to eat, man.
No. I mean, not just seeing the fish. We literally, so there's a storm when we first get to the canal. I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere, Everglades. Get to the canal, there's a storm. So we're bank casting. You see some fish, we see some fish, but then a skiff comes off the water. What did he say? He's talking about expectations. He comes off the water and says, we've been pulling up 6-pound peacocks all morning.
Yeah, man.
Bro, told us where to go, gave us his bait off of his rod, everything. And so we waited for the storm to pass. Now our expectation, boom, through the roof. I mean, I remember saying 6-pound peacock, give me one.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just give me one. You know what I mean? So we wait for the storm to pass. We waste more time doing that, and then we set off to go down this canal, and we look for what they're looking for. I remember Jacob, he's saying, why are we wasting our time even casting for these peacock that we see on the bank? Let's go find the thing they're talking about. You know what I mean? And what do? We make, I swear it was a 40-minute. It might have been 30-minute. We make a long push to go find this little stretch of canal where they said they were loaded up. We find it, and here we are. We're staring at them. They're staring at us.
Definitely looking at us. They definitely saw us, and that's the part that's so wild, is like they definitely saw us, and it's
Right.
like, to be that close, to seeing this fish being right there in that fish's presence, is like, man, this is a fish that we see on TV. It's a fish we see on YouTube. It's like we've never been somewhere where we actually physically see this fish,
Yep.
and it's like, this is the moment, and then we make a million casts at these fish. We literally throw every bait you can think of at this fish, man, to get this thing to eat. Swim baits, jigs, chatterbaits, everything,
worm.
curly tail worms, you name it. And this, literally, when you're swimming a bait and slamming it into the side of a fish's head, and they just won't even eat it. They just, what is that? Oh, cool, and keep it rolling. Like, it's like, dude, what are we doing wrong?
Right.
It's like, it's got to be us. And the thing is like, it can't be us because, bro, we're seasoned anglers. We are seasoned vets in this space. We know how to fish. We know how to
We
fish.
think, right?
I guess so we think. So we think. It's like, bro, it's like, sure, we could have, went down to Miami and, hopped in a pond somewhere, went around, urban fishing and probably caught 1,000,001 of those fish. But, that wasn't what this trip was about for us. It's like, we wanted to be out here in public water, on the kayaks, running the canals, looking for this fish in its natural habitat or semi-natural habitat outside of the Amazon, obviously.
Right.
But it's like, we didn't want to go and shoot crabs in a barrel. We wanted to go out here, put our skill set to the test, and put this fish in the boat the way that we know how to put fish in the boat.
Yep.
And it's like, it just didn't work, man. It just didn't agree with us.
Well, Jacob, you had the pleasure of actually getting into a P. Why don't you tell us about how that happened?
Man, I was so pumped. I made this perfect skip. Just right along the
It was
bank.
perfect. It was perfect.
And it was gorgeous. And I'm like, God, I just made the perfect cast. And then as I'm thinking it, I think you were pulling right up next to me. Wham! And I set the hook, and my heart came up into my throat, and I start reeling in, and that sucker just. And then my heart fell near my butthole, and I just kind of sat there for a minute, and then I kept skipping it right back up in there, and I could see the stupid fish, like he was looking at it, like I'm not doing that again.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all watched me over there when I was skipping underneath that.
I watched it, man. You made some banging skips under.
I was skipping under
They
that
couldn't
tree,
get any more perfect.
and I'm like, something's got to eat this. The tree ate it.
Yeah.
Several of them. Those lures will live there in infamy. But it blew my mind that the precision casts you're making. I was watching you over there pitching. You're like literally throwing it right in front of the fish's mouth and just like a buffet of lures.
Right.
And they're just like, no. But you asked like what it felt like to hook into one. It was like instant fight.
Right.
It was just like bah, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. And then fight's over.
Right. Yeah, Robin, you're watching through the lens all this happen. It's like you said earlier, even when we were fishing the chain, you're watching the frog go across the water, you're expecting the blow up to happen, which the grass here is phenomenal. You're expecting a fish to just bust out of it, eat the frog, but you're watching in clear water, the peacock bass have the lure land next to it through the lens, just like, please eat. With nothing, man.
I'm sitting there. I'm seeing Brandon just toss in and out, keep going. And like we all have polarized glasses on, so we can literally see the lure dropping. And I'm as you said, Charlie, I'm waiting for. I'm like, okay, here's about to happen. It's about to happen, and the fish just like turns, and I'm frustrated. I'm not even fishing. I'm trying to film this because I'm waiting for that rod bend just to come down, waiting for the fish to jump in the air, like all these things that we're thinking about and been dreaming about, like capturing and getting. And I'm seeing Brandon fish, and he's getting frustrated at the fact that it's like, bro, eat. Like, you're right there, man. You're right there. And like as Brandon said, we threw everything. I threw a rattle trap. I threw a curly tail worm. I don't even know if people use curly tail worms to get peacock bass. Well, yeah, Jacob. But it was just like it was.
You had a follower on the rattle trap too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He came right in between us.
Yep, I did
It
have
was
a
a
follower.
good. I mean, it was a good, probably what 5-6 pound peacock.
Yep.
Yeah.
Followed that rattle trap right in between me and Rob.
Yeah.
And Rob's like, "Oh, you see it?" And I mean, as I look over and I see it going down, and it was. I mean, it was a good sized peacock.
And I was fishing that rattle trap weird. I was fishing it like a jerk bait. So I'll throw it, let it sink, and I'll just like pop it, and then it'll sink down, pop it again, sink down, pop it again. And as I was popping it up towards the kayak, here it comes. Looks at it, says no, just swims away. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
this is how today's gonna go.
That's coming back to expectation, right? And maybe you're hearing this, you're hearing what we're saying, and you're thinking, oh, you should have thrown this. You're hearing what we were throwing after we had thrown the thing you think we should have thrown, because we had the right expectation of what they would eat, what kind of paddle tail, how to rig it, maybe it's fluke style, whatever it may be. Trust me, we were out there throwing that. These are the things we were trying to innovate with because they wouldn't eat it. They wouldn't eat it. It was frustrating.
Absolutely, man, 100%. And then you think about like just the weather. It's like again, this is not something that we're necessarily used to. Is these extreme changes in weather? Like we're getting these freak flow through storms that just blow through and they're gone in 5 minutes. And it's like, I mean, a lightning storm that just comes out of nowhere, dumping rain, 5-6 inches of rain, and it's gone in 10 minutes time. And it's like, as a fish, I think about, man, like, I mean, they should be used to it, obviously, because this is a seasonal thing. Obviously, we're smack dab in the middle of hurricane season. But, man, it's like, as an angler, we're coming from Texas. We're not used to that. Like, right now, it's 110 degrees in Texas. There's fire advisories everywhere. Possum Kingdom is literally burning down right now. And here we are in Florida, obviously sweltering hot. But it's also rainy and stormy, like, every day. I mean, I don't think there's been a single clear day since we've been here.
No.
And it's like, those conditions, make fishing tough, especially we're right in the middle of summer. It's like, what do we do, in this situation? It's like, because this is not Texas, this is a whole different ball game for us. These lakes are full of grass, a totally different type of grass than we're used to fishing. And it's just crazy, man, to think about, being here this time of year whenever, all the intel that we've gotten has said, do this. We do that and come home empty-handed every time.
Absolutely. I mean, the other thing too is, so when we think about going down and fishing for those peacocks, I mean, that was a huge bucket list thing. I mean, honestly, we all wanted to hold one up. We all wanted to get one in. We all wanted to feel that tug. You know what I mean? But at the same time, defeated that and that sin. That was one sin. That was one of the days in the past few days, that we're fishing. Jacob thankfully, pulled me back. I didn't have my motor on, so he pulled me back. So I was just Cadillacing behind him.
Right.
But I was cruising back, just thinking like, how incredible to get out with my friends and go into the middle of the Everglades. Terrified of alligators, by the way.
That we never
I
even
won.
saw.
Didn't see one.
Exactly. Expectation there. No alligators in the Everglades.
In Florida.
It was your singing.
In Florida.
In Florida.
Now there is an alligator story, but it wasn't on that canal, which was literally in the middle of nowhere. But getting pulled back, definitely heated, and having to burn that off, listen to some music, but just looking around and saying, bro, I'm in the Everglades right now. I am literally in Florida fishing with my friends, chasing a fish that I couldn't have found anywhere else.
Absolutely, man.
Like that adventure, that sin, that day, even though it did not go as we expected, it ended up being incredible still. You know what I mean? Like, it made this trip what it's been. You know what I mean? And those lessons we learned there, you know what I mean? Store them up. You know what I mean?
We live with that forever. You know,
Exactly.
we will carry that around with us forever because it's not always about the fish, you know, because the reality of it is that anybody can go out and catch fish, you know, but you have to have a mindset to go out here and chase these adventures. You know, it's not something that, you know, a lot of people are actually willing to get out here and do because a lot of people don't understand that these adventures exist, and, you know, and that these opportunities surrounding those adventures, how big of an impact that can make on your life by just getting out here and just doing it. You know,
Right.
Sure, it would have been awesome. It would have been phenomenal to catch one of those fish. You know, but sure, we get another chance to come back and try to do it again at some other point in time. You know,
Right.
but you know, those moments, we'll never get those back. You know, because those memories that we share will live with us forever. You know, that's
Right.
not something that can be recreated.
Right.
You know, so it's like that part of it is something that I'm really, really thankful for, you know, being able to come down here and fish with you guys, you know, and enjoy something like that. Because like you said, we're in the middle of the Everglades of Florida. It's like I'm out here on a kayak, you know, like in what's supposed to be dinosaur world. There's supposed to be panthers and black bears and everything else running around down here. And
We passed bear signs.
we did.
Black bears.
And panther crossing signs.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
there was panther crossing signs too.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't even know that there were panthers in the freaking Everglades.
Yeah. We talked about it.
I didn't know there were bears down here.
Yeah, that is news to me. You know, I'm gators and snakes.
We didn't even see a snake.
Didn't
We
bro?
haven't
We
even
have
seen a
not
snake.
seen a single snake. It's funny you mentioned that. We have not seen a single snake.
Yeah, I'm good with that. We don't have to jinx that.
I'm good with it too.
I'm good with it. Like,
Yeah. We have not seen a single snake since we've been in this state.
We've only seen 2 gators.
Yeah, and
One,
Charlie
Charlie saw
saw
one.
both of them, both
Yeah.
of those.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's the only one that's really seen them. So technically we could say he's not even really, he didn't even see a gator. But it's like, you know, you think about that. It's like, you know, whenever you mention Everglades, you know, the first thing that comes to your mind is gators. You know, it's like
anacondas.
anacondas, giant freaking Burmese pythons. All of them. I mean, we've all seen those videos. You know, we've seen that guy that lives down here that chases these giant snakes and iguanas
Every day.
Yeah, every single day.
Iguanas, bro. Maybe we're off. Maybe
we're
they
not
didn't.
that-
Maybe they didn't.
Maybe
live
you
there.
got to. Maybe we had to be a little bit.
We had to,
Maybe
we had to be
so.
more south.
There you
If
go.
we
Maybe-
start getting to Miami, that's where you start seeing the.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. Maybe we just weren't south enough, you know. But it's just like, I mean, of all things, a gator, you know. And it's like, you know, the 2 gators that we have seen as a whole are not some giant 12, 13, 14, 15-foot gators. They've been like some little 5, 6 footers. You know, it's like, you know, where are the gators at? You know, when you come to Florida, you know, the expectation is, oh, there's gators everywhere, because that's all people talk about. Gators everywhere, you know. And then the Everglades of all places, gators everywhere.
Right.
The dude right here, right across the street. I mean,
Oh,
lake,
yeah,
there's a lake right across the street, and the guy comes out the first day. He's like, "Watch out for that 15-foot gator."
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
Where's it at?
Where's it at, bro?
Where's it at?
He's like, "Oh yeah, it stays under this dock. It goes over here."
We don't see it.
Yeah. And they could have been there, right? I mean, Jacob, your experience in Florida previously, you saw gators then, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. You saw a lot, I think.
and that was further north too.
Right.
That was,
And
that was in the Harris chain.
I mean, now, granted, you know, even you know, you talk to Chad Hoover, even we talked to him tonight. Don't be afraid of the gator. He's telling me a story of lifting a gator's head up out of the water 10 years ago on video before there was social media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, imagine that on TikTok
Yeah,
today.
man.
You know, but the point being is that, like, it ain't even that we have to see the gator. It's you expect to see the gator.
Expectations.
We expect to see these things. And so, you know, even just tying this back real quick to the bass fishing we've been doing, we expect to be catching bass. Now, again, we've all caught a bass or a few bass, not many bass.
I've caught one.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even your bass, great bass. Rob's bass, great bass. I've caught 2 dinks. You know what I mean? Jacob's bass, pretty good. But, I mean, we barely got a limit between the 4 of us.
That's it, bro. We are seriously sucking. Seriously sucking down here.
Yeah, and so you know, even there, right? We're our expectation is that something's wrong, but we fished multiple lakes. We've talked to many locals. We're talking to people who know Florida like the back of their hand. We're fishing the right places. We're fishing the right lures and techniques. Just ain't happening.
100%.
But I mean, we're gonna turn around and try to do it again tomorrow.
We're gonna give it a run. We're gonna give it a rip tomorrow and try something new, I guess you could say.
Live bait.
We might as well. I'm
Yeah,
down.
might as well.
We might as well go get some minnows, man. Just go get some shiners.
Who said that? Somebody's wife said that.
Yeah,
On this trip.
yeah. It's Quincy. He said, "I'll just throw chicken at them." And
Chicken
Mess
gizzard.
around and catch a gator.
Now we
like
might
that.
catch a gator then.
absolutely.
Won't be the first time.
I'm okay with not running any dinosaurs that are bigger than my kayak.
They don't bother me.
Yeah.
I've run into quite a few of those
Listen,
really big ones.
I just want to get it on video.
Yeah.
I hear you.
What, me walking on water?
And I mean, we're right here in the heart of Winter Haven, Florida, which is right on the chain of lakes. We're literally surrounded by water. There's so many different lakes around us, so many different diverse fishing areas. And it's like, even that, we've put in so much time on these bodies of water.
Right.
We've literally fished 9 of these separate lakes out here. And it's like, I just don't understand like where these fish are at, We fished in a lake, yesterday that that was probably the most diverse of all of the lakes that we've fished since we've been here. Again, we come from Texas, we're used to fishing things like, certain types of grass, typically a lot of wood and timber. That's one of my favorite things to fish. And it's like, we get to this lake and finally we got some diversity. There's timber in here. There's, sparse pads and things like that. And, the grass is not as gummed up in there where, you can't really rip through it. And it's just like, dude, where are these fish at?
Yeah.
It's just really hard to fathom to me, man. Like, so it's like, when we think about the aspect of professional fishermen, and the aspect of them, the way that they fish, when they've got a tournament that's happening and they get, X amount of days, to put in all this work on a certain body of water. Jacob Wheeler, pulls up and he gets to fish, Lake Fork for, 10 days before he actually goes out there and figures it out, or St. Clair or whatever it may be. And it's like, you think about us from that aspect, we don't have that kind of time, to get out here like that. We're here for a short period of time. So, every minute, every second that we're out here on this lake, we are literally hard fishing, trying to dial in on a pattern, trying to figure something out. And it's like, Jacob, you fish a lot of the national trail stuff, with you fishing Bassmaster and things like that. You're traveling, dragging your kayak all across the country to fish some of these bodies of water, spending, X amount of days on a body of water. Kind of what is going through your mind, and, what's kind of your process of dialing in on something whenever you kind of pull up to these places?
You got to cut it in thirds. No, I'm kidding.
Inside joke.
It's well, I mean, you got to look at your lake, look at your maps. I mean, depending on the time of the year, I mean, I'm real big on map study. I mean, look for your tapering points, look for your drop offs, look for your funnel points. Look where fish are going to have ambush points, where they're going to want to hold to. I mean, all that good stuff. And then once you isolate whatever area or areas that you want to cover, go out there. My first day when I'm pre-fishing, I do nothing but graph. I go out there, scan, and look, drop waypoints, this, that, and the other. And then the second day, I'll actually come back and I'll wet a line. And then when I'm wetting a line, I mean, I'm just really looking for that reaction, seeing if that's a lure that they want. But I've gone out and pre-fished for tournaments for 3-4 days at a time. Absolutely demolished them in pre-fish. Not that I'm trying to do it, but I mean, sometimes they hit the lure so hard, they set the hooks on themselves. And yes, I know people say cut the barbs and this, that, and the other, but I'll be honest. I don't want to go changing 27, different sets of trebles or whatever I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But I mean, whole point is you can have these great expectations of, I've gone and pre-fished and done this and done that. Sometimes I think the fish have the mind of their own. Like tournament day rolls around and they're sitting down there like, hey man, here comes that guy again. Watch this. And you'll throw it right at him again, and you'll throw it past that 8-pounder you caught in practice, and it's just going to go right by them. And they're like, no, I'm good this time. But I think when you're tournament fishing, one of the main things is you have, an A, B, and C. You got to have those backup plans. I mean, plan A doesn't go right. Okay, let's go mid depth. My favorite type of water to fish is 8 to 12 foot. I mean, because I think you're gonna have good fish suspending in that area. You might have to weed through some dinks to get to the big ones, and then if times get real bad, I mean, go deep. You go deep, yeah, you're probably gonna catch less fish, hypothetically speaking, but you're gonna have the bigger bite down deep, and that's been proven time and time again. I mean, your big girls, they're gonna hold to that deeper water, but you can set all the expectations that you want and all the criticism when it comes to fishing a certain body of water, but putting in the time, putting in the practice. I mean, and like us coming to Florida, I mean, yeah, we had huge expectations, but we're flying blind.
Yeah.
You can get all the juice and all the intel you want to do, but I mean, it's 90-something degrees outside. That's the lake across the street was 91 degrees.
Yeah.
We might as well fill up a bathtub, put goldfish in it, and try out. You're probably gonna have better luck. But
No, exactly.
Yeah, so when we think about expectations, to kind of circle back to that, is like, there is this common misconception in this space, especially whenever you think about it from the social media side of the house, because there is a very large number of creators out here that make videos that are just these giant human highlight reels.
Yeah.
They give this false perception of what fishing actually is, because every video is just the same thing. Oh, hook set after hook set after hook set after hook set, big fish, oh my God, all of this action packed, pond fishing or whatever it may be. And it's like, that's not what fishing actually is. The reality of it is that fishing is actually really, really hard.
Yeah.
There are a lot of tough days on the water. We've had tons of tough days on the water where we just simply don't catch anything. And that, recently, most definitely recently,
Very recent.
which is a lot more often than not, being, just being down here. But it's like, that expectation of going out here and that you're going to catch fish or you're going to catch a 10-pounder whenever you go out on the so-and-so lake, the reality of it is that possibility is very, very low, and it's like, we think about pro anglers, we think about people that have been fishing for decades, if you really, really think about it, there are people that are walking around on this planet right now that are in their 70s, 60s, 80s, whatever it may be, that have never caught a fish, never caught a largemouth bass, which is by far the most predominantly chased species in the entire world. They've never caught a bass over 5 pounds.
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's insane.
That is, yeah. I mean,
And then you think about a person like Randy Howell, this year in the MLF, broke his personal best. He caught 2 of the biggest bass of his life that he's ever caught in his entire life on the same day, a couple of hours apart, on the same body of water. He caught a 10-pound bass, lost his absolute mind when he caught this fish, and then not even 2 hours later, he stuck a 12.8-pound bass, literally the largest bass in MLF history. Like, think about that. Randy Howell has been a professional bass angler, a pro, for probably a decade and a half. What is it? A decade is 10 years, a century and a half. Centa is 20.
That's 100,
That's
bro.
100.
I was gonna say
What's 20? So 2 decades and a half.
a deca.
Why don't we just say 25 years?
25 years
There we go.
plus. Whatever. You know what I meant.
We're smart.
Hey man,
We're
we ain't
smart.
trying to math it up.
I know. We ain't trying to math it up in here. But
we
anyway.
fish. We don't do
We
math.
fish. We don't do math. But, yeah, I mean, imagine that. Randy Howell's a professional fisherman that's been out here fishing all of this time, and he had never caught a 10-pound bass. And there's a lot of pros that are out here. There's a lot of anglers out here that have never caught a fish that big.
Yep.
Why did that just overheat? We're in an air-conditioned room.
Did it overheat?
It literally just overheated.
Fascinating.
I don't understand it.
GoPro's
That's
got
so
problems,
weird.
man.
So GoPro has. Let's talk about this.
GoPro.
My GoPro is really, really garbage. I got a
Fix
Hero
your
9.
stuff.
I don't know why, for whatever reason, over the last couple weeks or so, that camera has just randomly been overheating. and I don't know why. Be out on the water, like we're in an air conditioned room right now. There's no reason that camera should be turning off.
It makes no sense at
No
all.
sense at all.
None.
And as a content creator, that makes this tough because I need that to work.
Right.
You know, I don't want to go buy another GoPro. That thing's $400.
Yeah, man. That overheating just now makes you just want to throw it in the garbage.
Throw it in the trash, man.
But you know what the problem is? What are you going to replace it with?
Another GoPro.
Another GoPro.
Another GoPro.
Another GoPro.
How hot is it?
I have no idea. It's probably scalding hot right now, and I don't know why.
That's what. So that same beeping we were hearing on the water the other day, that was coming from my camera on my boom. It's overheating,
It's overheating.
and I don't understand it. I mean, it blows my mind.
I think it's the batteries. Something's wrong with the batteries that makes them overheat. That works it works harder. So like even with the big cameras, if I use like an off-brand battery, it overheats my camera faster than the actual Sony battery.
Right.
Yeah.
Something in the battery. That's what I think.
Yeah, it's something, man. But I know that really bothers me that camera keeps overheating, especially with us being in this room that is not hot, by the way. There's no reason that camera should be overheating. But back to what we were talking about. You know, just thinking about that, it's like, you know, again, that's another kind of one of those expectations that Florida is a big bass mecca, you know, big bass capital of the world, you know, just like Texas. It's like, you know, we expected to come down here and not only catch fish, but catch big fish, you know, fish, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pounders, you know, and that's not, it doesn't happen, you know, and I think that happens for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's far more common. I think the whole reason to even talk about expectations of fishing in this is just to really try to help people. You know, if you're fishing ponds, great. Fishing is good.
Absolutely.
Fishing is good. I don't care where you're fishing. You can fish a puddle in your backyard. If there's fish in it, catch them. You know what I mean? Fishing is good, but we're trying to really kind of, I don't know, a peek behind the curtain. Give a peek behind the curtain about realities of expectations of fishing.
Yeah, man.
Because I mean, even today, you know, talking to someone who's in the industry, there's a loss of people in the fishing world because they don't get the reality that they don't meet the expectation that they're seeing online. Why aren't I catching 6-pounders all the time?
Yep.
Why aren't I catching 20 fish every time I go out? Like, what's it going to take for me to be as good as so and so and so and so? Right. And it's like, wow, well, actually, we're all out here struggling. We're all out here having bad days and good days. You know what I mean?
That's why I think it's so important for, you know, content creator like yourself. I mean, with a good following and a large impact on people. And I give another guy, Greg Blanchard.
Yeah.
Guys like y'all that show the good days and the bad days. You show no matter what. I think that's a huge reality check for people because, I mean, I've been with you when you've slayed fish and had monstrous days. I've been with you when you've, you know, skunked and not had good days. And the fact that you still show that, even though it's not necessarily what you want to show, but you're giving people the reality, like, this is what it's like. You know, Greg Blanchard does the same thing. You know, another phenomenal content creator. He shows you a day on the water, whether it's good or whether it's bad. And I think that gives people the reality that they need because it's just like we were talking to that gentleman at the Realtree event tonight. You know, if you take somebody to a private water fishing lake and they go and slay 5-10 pounders in one day, they're spoiled. Then they go to a lake like
Lavon,
whoa.
or Lake Conroe, which, I mean, Conroe's a great fishery too if you know the spots. I mean,
Right.
but and they go to a lake like that, they're just crushed, and they're, you know, like they said, demoralized. And they don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And they don't understand that. Yeah, we go out as, you know, quote unquote pro anglers and catch a lot of fish, but people don't understand the amount of work, map study, and all this other stuff that we do.
Time on the water.
The amount of time on the water, the amount of time of re-rigging rods and doing all that other good stuff. You know, bait studies and seeing what's going to work. It's not just throwing a wet line, getting a line wet in the water. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it.
Right.
Yeah, man. And it's like, you know, prime example, I blow a reel up every time we get on the water. Like, every time I go fishing, I blow a reel up. it happens every single time. And it's like, we're here for ICAST, the largest fishing show in the world. When you think about
It's a
that,
fishing show?
yeah, it's a fishing expo.
Really?
Yeah. So, it's like, you think about that, we pull up to ICAST, obviously I'm very fluent with a bait caster. It's something that we use day in and day out. But for some strange reason, I cannot stop blowing these reels up. We go over to the Kistler booth, and they got this new grasshopper rod that's coming out. It's made for, young anglers, to get into the sport.
Why were you throwing a children's rod?
Because why not?
Testing it out. We got
Testing
kids.
it out, man. We got kids.
I know you got kids, but I mean, that's like giving Wreck-It Ralph a rod.
So, Levis Casty is over at the Kistler booth, and he's like, hey, check out this new stick we got coming out, this reel and everything like that. And I was like, awesome. So we grab it. Charlie grabs when he goes down there. He starts ripping it around in the test pond. And Levis brings me one, and I was like, I'm a lefty, so, he comes over with this right-handed rod. I was like, no, man, I need a left-handed rod. He's like, oh, you're a lefty? And he runs back over there. He grabs me a left-handed stick and reel, and he brings it back to me. And no kidding, I make one cast with this rod. One cast, and I blew that reel to smithereens. Like, I'm talking just the biggest bird's nest. And it blows my mind, but it's like, I'm human, I'm, sure, I'm this, I guess what people would consider, I don't even know what I would be to people. I know that I'm a standout figure in this space, but, I'm a regular person at the end of the day as well. I make mistakes on the water, tons of them. I got a hook in my leg.
That was hilarious.
I blow reels up all day long, every day, 2-3 times a day, out on the water.
More.
And, I trip and fall, and I scrape my hands up and cut my hand. Man, I scraped my hand up really bad just the other day. And it's
That was
like
on a trailer, wasn't it?
on the trailer, just small stuff. We make mistakes, and that's the thing. There's nothing wrong with making those mistakes out here, because you're going to make a ton of mistakes on the water. It's not always going to be great. You're not always going to have a good day. We have tons of bad days, a lot more bad days than we do good. But those bad days make those good days that much better, because you worked through all of those trials and tribulations and struggles to get to that one great fish. When you go out there and you've grinded it out for 2-3 months, and you've caught all these small fish, or you haven't caught any fish, and then one day you finally get the pieces put together in your head and everything falls in line, and you stick that one fish.
Yeah.
Like, what that feels like. We all know what that feels like, to be out here on the water like that and to finally get into that one fish that we've been looking for all day long. It makes all the difference. It's like we could be out there all day long. It's just like, we're going to go out tomorrow. We've been here for 5 days fishing, and if tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the morning, right before we get off the water, one of us just gets into that right fish, it's like, that's what's going to bring all of this full circle for us.
Yeah.
And that's what happens to everybody when they get out here in the water. It's like, don't go out here and give up on it because you had a phenomenal day one day, and then you had a streak of 10 terrible days. Keep grinding.
Keep grinding.
Keep grinding. Keep putting that time in on the water, because it's going to come back around again. You're going to go out there and you're going to have a 5-fish day, a 10-fish day, a 25-fish day.
Right.
Or you might just have that day that you get that one fish.
Exactly right.
And that's what it's all about. That's what fishing is really about. It's about putting that work in. It's about going out here and actually enjoying the fishing. It's not always about making a video or trying to be the next KVD or something like that. Just go out here and enjoy the sport for what it is and why you enjoy it, and that's something that, I love about this space, and being able to do what we do is actually, being able to convey that message to people, because I think a lot of people get so lost in so much that happens in this space, because you got things like social media, you got your guys that are your favorite creators that do things a certain way. and you get people that aren't doing things the best way, you know, and it does give people this false impression of what fishing actually is. you know.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
I'll agree with Brandon. I mean, having some of the worst times on the water, I'll never forget when I caught my PB. That was probably the worst fishing day I had been having of my life. Like anything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Okay.
I mean, first I dropped my trailer in the water on Sam Rayburn, put it in the water. I don't know what I was thinking, but I pulled off. Didn't secure my kayak. Come back down the boat ramp. I'm like, oh, that's way out there now. So had to get wet. Went and got it. It was cold. I mean, not cold, but I mean, it wasn't, you know,
it wasn't
nice
Yeah.
to jump in the water. Get out, start fishing. I hooked into a few fish, nothing spectacular. And one of my favorite reels started messing up on my favorite combo. I'm like, man, it was my Texas rig combo. So I'm like having a meltdown. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. So then I keep fishing. I start throwing a different setup. Caught a few fish on that. Then I get stuck on a stump. When I say stuck on a stump, I'm talking like I thought it was going to call a tugboat to come get me off this stump. I am standing up in my Hobie, rocking it back and forth, and that sucker's just sitting still.
Oh man, we've
I'm
been
like-
there.
So I literally had to go up by the front rod holders and like kind of rock it back and forth to get to finally slide off.
Yeah.
So it finally slides off, and I'm like, all right, today can't get any worse. It can only go up from here. So I start drifting over, and I see some flooded timber and stuff. And I'm like, man, you know what? I'm going to fish over here, try to get some more spots for this tournament coming up, and I'm going to go for it. And then I'm done. So I cast over, nothing. I cast over again, and I kind of pulled up, and I felt some tension. And I'm like, I'm hung. That's how I'm going to end my day. I'm hung. Then I look up again, and I see my line swimming. And I'm like, that's a fish.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, I swung on that thing like Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm.
And the fight was on. I mean, and then when it came up, I saw that mouth open up. I was like, don't you dare. I mean, and I'm trying to keep tension, and I'm reeling as fast as I can. And then she starts swimming right at me. I mean, I'm like reeling and got my rod over, trying to keep her down in the water. Got her in the boat. I mean, it was over 11 pounds. I think it was like 11, 13 to be exact.
Good Lord.
And my heart, I mean, I look like the coyote or whatever that cartoon characters. My heart's like beating out to here. I'm over there screaming and hooping and hollering. And I'm like, man, I'm going to crush this tournament. Skunked. Tournament day. Straight up skunked. I mean, I'm showing people pictures of this fish. And they're like, man, that's awesome. Go catch it during tournament day. I sat over there for 6 hours.
Right. You
Nope.
sit on that spot?
Daggum right I did. Ain't nobody catching my fish.
Funny right there.
But that's when Sam Rayburn was high, and he was like 10, 12 foot high or whatever. I mean, it was a completely different fishery. And, you know, I think it was Levis's wife, actually. Levis fished the Hobie event out there, and his wife is actually the one that told him, like, why are you fishing the bank line? Go fish the original shoreline. And Levis did. Man, Levis, like, crushed it in that Hobie
did.
tournament. Did really, really well.
Yep.
But and sometimes, you know, we're talking about confidence and all that stuff. You know, my wife, she's my rock, and sometimes when times are getting tough, and I'll talk to her on the water, that little boost of confidence, that's almost better than catching a fish.
That's true.
Heard that.
That's true. I talk to my wife when I'm on the water. I'll catch a fish usually. Say, will you give me a call real quick?
Yeah, I might have to call my wife on the water tomorrow. See if man, she bring me some good luck.
We should all
We should just call our
start
wives
call-
all at the
start
same
calling,
time.
Calling the
Just have
ladies.
a FaceTime, like, 5-way of wives.
We need some good vibes out here.
Absolutely. But you know, so you know, we're here for ICAST, you know, and it's like, you know, this is something that we've talked about wanting to do for a really, really long time. You know, when you think about ICAST and what that actually is, you know, the largest fishing show in the world, is like there's so much that's happening here, you know, over these 3 days, and it's been an experience of a lifetime, man. When you really, really think about it, to be able to come out here and to talk to some of these people that belong to a lot of these big brands and, network with people in this space and to hear a lot of the same stories and the same struggles that we're having down here come from the mouths of some of these people. It's really wild to think about. So it's like, it puts it into perspective for us, that it's not something that we're doing wrong. Mm-hmm. It's just that, again, we had high expectations coming down here, and we're basically being humbled.
Right. No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
We really are being humbled.
I mean, everybody here has caught fish over 5 pounds. I'm the only one that hasn't, and I'm in a place where I can make that happen. Like, I'm in Florida, and so my expectation, this is my personal expectation, is to break my PB.
Right.
But it's just like, we've been very humbled. Very, very humbled.
And it's not a bad thing,
No,
it's not a
absolutely
bad thing. People, again, we take this experience on the chin. We learn from this and we go forward from here. And, that's all we can do, because as anglers, these are the moments that make us better. These are the moments that define us as anglers. And this is what brings us back that much stronger the next time we do this. So, I'm actually okay with, what has happened thus far on this trip. Sure, I was in a serious funk, the last few days because it's just like, man, what are we going to do? Is because, it's like, again, we think about the aspect of we're content creators, we're here to create content. But at the same time, just being able to remember that it's not always about the fish at the end of the day. It's about the experience. And this is a once in a lifetime type of experience to come down here and be able to fish with my best friends and have, this type of thing happen, to be here together and to all be on this struggle bus. It's not just me that's out here sucking. It's all of us sucking.
We're sure to clarify that anybody we talk to, it's not just we can't get. There's 4 of us.
All of us are not catching any fish. So it's like this is a killer adventure, man.
Right.
This is one. That we'll carry with us for our entire lives. It's like, man, you remember when we're 50, 60 years old sitting around, it's like, man, you remember when we went down to Florida to catch some peacock bass and we got down there and got our butts kicked all week? It's like, that's something, man. It's like, we were in the Mecca of all of, the third Mecca of big bass. And it's like, bro, we're here, And it's like, we can't do nothing but either make it happen or we don't. But the adventure was still killer.
Absolutely. We're gonna basically, go to bed tonight, set an early alarm clock, rig up the yaks again tomorrow, slot them into the water, and have the same expectation: catch a PB, put good bass in the boat, get a good video out of it, close this thing up. And we just gotta go out there expecting that to happen, but also having reality check us. You know what I mean? That it might not happen.
It might not happen.
And if it doesn't happen, doesn't mean that that you're a terrible angler. Just means you didn't put the lure in front of the fish. And the fish, if you did, the fish didn't want to eat it.
Yeah.
I think they're on vacation.
They are. Hey, it's Florida. It's summertime.
They're chilling somewhere else.
They're out there. Yeah. We got theories, but there's no need to jump into it in the podcast.
For sure. But the adventure was there. We came down here and we made a memory,
right.
a core memory.
Right.
And that's really what fishing is all about. That's why everything that we talk about, it's always for the love of fishing,
for the love of fishing.
The sport. And it's like, my love for this sport has not changed one bit based off of coming to Florida. My love for Florida has changed, but my love of fishing has not changed.
Yeah, man.
Well, gang, that's a wrap for this episode. So if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to turn on that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. You can also follow us along at That Bass Fishing Dude on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. See you on the next one.